My first guest today has sparked debate, saying the NHS should stop offering free IVF treatment. Journalist Sirena Bergman believes that with budgets stretched to breaking point, it is time to get real. She's here alongside Dr Virginia Bolton from the British Fertility Society. Good morning, ladies. It's got our viewers talking this morning, I'll be honest with you, but just firstly, if we can sort of place exactly where the IVF is within the NHS. I mean, it's up to local NHS providers to decide what is on offer. Since 2010, Wales have offered 2 rounds of IVF to eligible women. Northern Ireland are offered 1. IVF treatment has been restricted or halted in 13 areas in England since January. But you believe, Sirena, basically it just shouldn't be on offer at all.
I don't believe it should be funded by the NHS. I absolutely don't think IVF should be banned, and I would never class it as a luxury. I think it's an incredibly difficult process for a lot of women. But with the NHS being as underfunded as it is, and so many resources could be put into areas that genuinely affect people's health, I don't think IVF should be a priority.
Okay. Well, Dr Virginia, you've come across many couples, I'm sure, who've struggled for a long, long time, and you see the physical and the mental effects that this have on a couple. So what would your views be?
What I think is important to stress is that we're discussing opinions here, and everybody has a right to their opinions, but what's really important is what's happening, and the fact that there is funding available for IVF treatment, but different parts of the country use that funding differently. And obviously the people who make the decisions about how to spend the money have to make the decisions based on a lot of constraints, but equally, how are they going to make those decisions? Well, the decisions are based on expert opinion, and the experts have looked at the evidence and have looked at the data and have looked at the success rates worldwide, and they have come up with the recommendation of the NICE guidelines that 3 cycles of IVF gives people the best chance of success that could possibly be achieved with this form of treatment, that it is cost effective, and that 3 cycles of treatment should be funded. And this is the recommendation made by a body of experts that know the field, that have studied the evidence, that have looked at the cost effectiveness, and this is the decision they've come up with.
I have huge sympathy, and I can't begin to imagine what it must be like to want to conceive naturally and not be able to. But I think it comes back to my initial point, which is that we really need to reframe the idea that in order to have a family and live a fulfilled life, you have to have what is considered a nuclear family, a woman and a man who are married, and one of them gives birth to a baby. That's not the reality that we live in, and it's problematic that we're reinforcing this idea. It's problematic for women and for the wider community.
If I could just interject here. Again, we're talking about opinions, and I think it's really important that everybody has an opportunity to express their opinions, but equally we are talking about the real world. And the emotions that you were describing are very, very real, and I'm exposed to them every day, of couples, young women, slightly older women, who do experience the reality of this yearning to have a child, whether or not it's conditioning or social imposition that they've come up with this feeling, but it's a very real yearning. And if medical intervention is the only thing that can help them, and this is going to achieve for them what they yearn so very much for, then this should be given to them.
I think we find ourselves in a vicious cycle, though, because, as you mentioned, you do accept the possibility that this is social conditioning, and by the government presenting
I accept the possibility that there may be an element of social conditioning, but I also say that this is a reality that people are facing, that real human beings feel in their beings, that they wish to follow this path to have a child.
It's an emotive topic, isn't it?
Of course, it is highly, highly emotional. And the point really I think that we have to address is how best to spend the limited funds that the NHS has. And in all honesty, if money is diverted away from IVF, it's a drop in the ocean. And as I said earlier, experts have said that this is a cost-effective treatment. It can bring joy and happiness to so many people at relatively small cost. 3 cycles of IVF treatment, the majority of people will become pregnant and achieve the families they want if they have 3 cycles of treatment. And not all people will need 3 cycles. A lot of people will get pregnant on their first attempt, which means those extra 2 cycles are not necessary. So it's not going to cost as much as people fear. And diverting the funds away from IVF is not going to provide the cure-all and suddenly fund everything else that the NHS needs.
I agree with that. I think the British Fertility Society estimated £77 million a year for IVF, which I agree in the grand scheme of the NHS budget is not a huge amount, but the reality is that currently we don't offer support to parents as it is. We have 3.5 million children living in poverty. We don't offer maternity leave, which really covers people's costs. We have a situation where antenatal care isn't free, where childcare isn't free up until 3 years old. All of these are ways in which we could support people who already are parents. And although it might not cover everything, I think the limited funds we do have could be put to much better use.
Okay, well, ladies, thank you very much. It's a very interesting debate. Please keep your comments coming in this morning as well. It's very interesting to hear your views on this, but thank you very much. Thank you.